Hey Pisces, so this is your bi-weekly reading and we are doing this from the, that was funny, from the December 12th new moon that is happening at 3:32 p.m. Pacific time, so adjust for your time zone, and that is happening in Sagittarius in tropical astrology. I'm filling this card here. And up to the full moon, which is going to be just after the Christmas holiday ends for those of you celebrating that. I'm feeling this top card here, actually. And that is on December 26th when the full moon happens, right? So that's the period of time that we are looking at. Please forgive the lighting. I was trying to get it done before the light hits in here because it takes my beautiful, nice black velvet and it turns it into like this charcoal, like so it looks washed out. So I'm sorry about the quality. I just had to get my filming in today at this time. So with this period of time, if this is your first time joining me, welcome. First of all, thank you for being here. These are short, quick readings to take us through breaking up the month. Instead of looking at the entire month ahead, we're looking at a 2-week period of time of what we can be focused on. Because sometimes like chunking it down to a smaller period of time, we can focus on something for 2 weeks. Sometimes a month of focusing on something is like, whew, that's a lot to get through, right? So there's so many things that can happen in a month. So this is what we're looking at. And when I pull cards for this period of time, what we are looking at is what would be the most beneficial if you were to put your time, energy, and attention into this particular area of your life. What would be of the most benefit that would ripple out into all other areas and benefit overall, right? Like what's the linchpin, and then what kind of guidance or advice is like coming through with that, right? So here is what we're looking at with you. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who have followed me and you're just like, where are the monthlies? And it's been a little quiet on this channel. Yeah, I had to take about 2.5 weeks to take a step back, honestly, to revisit realistically what kind of content and what I could really manage with traveling for the holidays to see family and like with appointments. And there are a few other things that are making my plate extremely full where things are like falling off the plate. So, which I can talk more about actually after the holidays. So I'll share more with you guys about that and why that is after the holidays. But yeah, so that's why I had to take a step back. So the monthly videos are on pause until probably February, March, hopefully before March, but just to be on the safe side, I want to say that. The astrology highlight videos are going to be kind of more like snippets until after the New Year holiday at the very least. So you know, hope to be on a regular schedule back with that at that point, but the bi-weeklies should stay the same, right? So we should have those up regularly, just so that you know that. All right, so what are we looking at for you, Pisces? We are looking at the 3rd house, right? And it does say communication, and I would say that that's not far off, but honestly, like I feel like the 3rd house is really more about your local spots, like your neighborhood. It's like where you go on a daily basis, like where you go on the weekends that is regular, where people like, it's like kind of like Cheers, you know, where everybody knows your name. That was an old show when I was a kid, so maybe some of you don't know what that is, but essentially that is like, we're looking at like, what's the farmer's market that you go to, or like the regular market that you go to where you like, you see the cashiers and maybe they recognize you, or like your actual neighbors in your neighborhood, or like where you go to the gym, or things of that nature. You know, if you don't work from home and there's a regular place that you go and the regular route that you take, or the regular coffee shop that you stop at to get like your matcha or something like that, right? Those are the places that we're talking about. We would also be looking at siblings here. So for some of you that might feel relevant. The 3rd house and communication, I can see how that might be connected in certain astrological structures. So if that feels applicable to you, I'll say go with it, because we're not doing an astrology reading, we're doing a tarot reading, and it just happens to be coming up as communication. So like, why not? Let's look at that. So with all that said, you know, looking at this particular area of your life, you know, and doing some kind of like, how is it that you want this to be, how is it that you want this to be feeling in your life? Like, how do you want your neighborhood to be feeling? How do you want this area of your life with your like siblings, for instance, you know, even to feel, or your communication, right? Like, how is it that you want that to be going forward, and what can you be doing and paying attention to in this area, maybe certain conversations that need to be had, or letters that need to be written, or whatever it is. But how can you be like, or maybe you're, you haven't been going to the farmer's market and you're like, I've always really wanted to go. And, I hear that the vendors are super nice, right? Like whatever it is, but that would maybe contribute to your life flowing better, or to happiness in this area, or to just like cleaning house in this area. Now, a couple of things that I will say about this. I feel like the way that we go about doing this for this particular period of time, for this particular waxing phase, might be slightly different than how we might normally talk about that, because this new moon is going to be in an aspect to Neptune that will have things maybe feel, at least for, a little bit after the new moon, maybe a little nebulous, a little unclear, maybe, perhaps. So if you are planning conversations, for instance, then I might hold that, maybe really consider the things that are, like your shit, their shit, what you actually want to say, or drafting letters, but not necessarily sending them, perhaps. Also because later on that day, so a few hours later, we will have Mercury go retrograde. Now, Mercury retrograde gets way overhyped. Some of you have probably already rolled your eyes, but I'm not one of those people who hypes it up in that way, right? This is more practical, right? This happens 3 to 4 times a year, and it's almost like these slowing down points. It's like when you're going through an area and then you suddenly hit a school zone and you have to go much slower. It's kind of like that. That's what Mercury retrograde is like. It slows us down in that way so that we have to take stock of what is occurring. And when we're looking at Mercury and what it has us look at, it has us look at the fine print, at the contracts, at the details, at like focusing on like, what are the facts here, and let me parse them apart, and seeing all sides of the angles, and like just understanding that. And in order to do that, it slows us down so that we're able to do all the, what I call the viewing, revising, right? Like this is what we're doing in these areas of our life. And so you might wonder, well, like, how is that like building momentum, right? Like, how is that building energy with the waxing phase of the moon? And what I've been saying all day with the readings that I'm, or all day, well, what I've been saying for all the readings is like, I see that as like the slowing down, the getting clear, the being, pushed into a position where we're being asked to like really review things, to be able to make tweaks here and there. It allows us to not only have clarity, but when we do start to move things forward, it moves forward with more clarity, and therefore maybe even more swiftly, because it's a smoother ride. And so I feel like this is building clarity and building momentum in these areas when we look at it from that perspective. Not only that, but this is also like a great time for review, just because of the end of the calendar year, right? Whether you relate to the Gregorian calendar year or not, like if you're like, I'm a solstice person, or I'm like a, an equinox person, it's fine. But there is this collective turning of the page, right? We are all going from 2023 to 2024, right? And there is a collective turning of the page when that happens. And so it's only natural that when there is a marked point like that, we would have things be in review. We would take some time to look back over things and go, oh, wow, like, to say like, well, how have I felt about this area of my life? Like, where was I at the beginning of the year in this particular area of my life? Maybe with siblings, or maybe with where, like, what your neighborhood is like, or what your interactions are like in this realm, or like with your, the people that you interact with daily. By the way, this can also be online, like the places that you go to daily. Let's say that you're someone who posts a lot of content on like Instagram and TikTok, and like that's part of what you do. Maybe you're an influencer or something like that. Then I could see this being like, well, that is a regular place that you visit. That's one of those like habitual places that you would be visiting in this context, right? So just having you guys, my camera got overheated, so sorry about that. okay, what was I saying? So yeah, just like taking some stock about like, where am I with this now? Like how do I feel about this area of my life? How would I like things to be different? So I think this is more like a phase where the building comes from getting the clarity first. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing that with this, we have the Judgment card as the guidance that's coming through. One of the things that I really love about the Judgment card is it's like, I feel like it's the calling you out card. It's like the card that says like, hey, are you going to continue to live in this previous like version of yourself or version of your life or existence, or are you going to answer the call and choose to do something different? Like basically choose to up level, to level it up to the next level. Are you going to choose to rise to the occasion? You know, and you can see that in the imagery that we have here, right? Like these people, you know, you can see that they're gray and they're coming out of these crypts, and you know, they're answering the, you know, quote unquote angel's call and answering the call to move to a higher level. They're choosing to answer the call and to up level their life in some way, right? Or up level their consciousness or their existence in some way. So that's what we see here. And you know, I think that there is something to do with that. And again, like maybe for some of you, this feels more like it's about siblings, perhaps, like maybe that it feels like more relevant, but you know, maybe like the neighborhood thing or where you're at online, your neighborhoods online are maybe where you're looking at this more. For some people, you know, depends on your lifestyle and where you live. Maybe like farmers market is not really a big part of it. Maybe you live in a metropolitan city and you're like, there's nobody who knows the cashier. The cashier doesn't know my name. I have no idea what that's like, right? So, or like, I don't know my neighbors. I don't talk to my neighbors and I don't care to, right? Like, so it could be different for everyone. So I give the significations of this so that you can look at like what this could be around. Now, again, this particular card deck, it represents, you know, third house as being partly about communication. And so that could also be it, about the conversations that you need to have. And like, how would that be bringing you up to this next level? How would that be, like, what kinds of conversations are you being called to have, right? For instance. So apply that how it feels most applicable for your life. So I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please give the video a like. It really does help as I'm building the channel. Also, if you're looking to book for the year ahead readings, the information for that is down below in the links below. So you can book the year ahead for 2024 for the tarot readings, where we go through each month and we look at like, what is the theme, like what's going on here. Or you can do the astrology readings for 2024, where we can look at the entire year and see like, okay, well, what kind of year is this for you? What kinds of prominent things are showing up? What kinds of phases are going to be important throughout the year that are going to be coming up for you overall? And if you're really wanting to like maybe get super focused about the first quarter of the year or the first 2 quarters of the year because of your planning, and you're like, what's going to affect my planning? We can certainly look at the astrology through that lens in like a more focused way like that. So if you want both tarot and astrology, just mention that in the notes and we can change that for you after booking. So that's pretty much it. Oh, last thing I would say is if you're wanting to get in on those before the end of January, which I feel like that's the prime time, you know, to like be planning ahead for the year, planning for the quarter, the first like couple quarters of the year, I would say I would get on that soon, just because, like I said, because of traveling and family and other things that I will talk with you guys about after the holidays. I will have like limited spots for how many people I'm able to realistically take. So you might see openings on the calendar where it's like, as I get bookings, I will probably be closing out certain other openings. That's just to give people more availability to choose from. But yeah, so I would say if you want to get in before the end of January, I would do it soonish. You know, or get it for a loved one, get it for a friend. You're definitely welcome to do that. And I can certainly create like even a gift certificate if that's something you want. So I think that is everything. Thank you for being here. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.